Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Chronicles and Deep Dives podcast. I'm here with Coach Cornelia, all the way in Romania.
Welcome back, everybody.
And my name is Coach Micah Ranjit. I'm here in the United States. Today, we're going to be talking about food. And I'm going to say that just like one word, just because it's super easy to go down a route of diet and healthy food and not healthy food. And we're going to talk about all of it in this podcast. So I hope you guys will stick with us to the end. So food is something that everybody needs. Everybody likes to eat food. Actually, I don't think I've really met anybody that doesn't like to eat food. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about two different things. First, we're going to talk about the diet in Romania. So actually, I wanted to hand it over to Cornelia, so maybe she can tell our viewers and everybody a little bit about stuff that they eat over there, how the customs, and how they kind of like go about life, different kind of food dishes and stuff they eat. Maybe in Denmark and in Romania.
It's very different. In Romania, we like traditional food and homemade food. That's the main dishes we prefer. I said about the soups. I remember in Denmark inviting some friends over to lunch, to dinner, sorry, and we've made homemade fries. And they were in shock because they have never seen homemade fries. They in there you can buy them frozen. You can buy them frozen in Romania as well, but they were doing this ever since they were born. Only frozen fries or from McDonald's or any other fast food or restaurant. So they've never had fries in the house, homemade ones. For us, it's much more important to go and shop from farmers market. I'm not sure if it's the same like over there, but in Romania you have small producers that are maybe they're producing some tomatoes in their own yard or garden. Anything you can think about, they come at the market with it, but it's a permanent market. So we have this, for example, in my city, we have around 7, 8 of these ones. And everyone is going and buys from there because it's more natural. We prefer natural food.
Okay, so tell me, like, let's say you're going to the market, right? You're going to the store, or the market, and what are some things that you would pick out on a weekly basis? Like, tell me some staples, and then tell me some like meat choices, some vegetables. Like, what do you normally pick up over there?
We're not eating a lot of meat, so my first choices would be a lot of vegetables, a lot of lentils. We eat a lot of lentils. It's not a traditional Romanian food, but my family prefer it, so we are eating it a lot. We are buying a lot of cheese. It's my passion for cheese. We are eating all kinds of cheese, so that's something. But it's a natural cheese that we are doing it at home as well sometimes. What else? Fruits, not so much, to be honest. Maybe bananas and seasonal fruits mostly. For some now, we are waiting for the cherries in May. We are very looking forward. That you can buy walking on the street, and someone can have some trees, cherry trees at home, and they just pick up the cherries and sell it. We prefer beef, but the Romanians are eating mostly pork.
Okay,
Chicken, of course.
right. So like so basically the same kind of stuff, but maybe like a different shopping style, different eating style over there than there is here. So I'm actually going to go on quite a little bit of a tirade here because when I grew up, there was the food pyramid. Everyone followed the food pyramid. Unfortunately, the food pyramid had a lot of not healthy things going on with it, where they prioritize carbs um, over the like lean proteins and stuff like that. And they've thus changed it to something called My Plate, which has like portion sizes in on a like plate diagram. However, in the United, like I know in Europe and other countries, they've actually removed a lot of the like preservatives and the fake chemicals, and a lot of times, like you explained, they actually shop on a daily basis for fresh produce, stuff they're going to use for the next day, and that's like a daily occurrence, right? Over here, right, we have the grocery store. You go to, it's like a one-stop shop. You show up, you cruise up and down the aisles, you pick all this stuff. You're getting a lot of processed foods, a lot of added chemicals, added additives, preservatives, like not natural things. And so for me, there are a variety of foods here. So we got like, all of the immigration that's happened has brought in, quite an abundance of Asian and some South American, there's Mexican, there's, occasionally you'll come across like a Russian restaurant or something like that. So there's like a variety of foods here available. Um,
Yeah.
However, like to shop, we go like once a week, right? And sometimes you go less than that. And you everything's about size. You're always trying to get more. Companies are always trying to sell you less for more money for some reason, right? So that's where all those chemicals and anti-caking agents and all the other stuff come in because they're substituting out these chemicals that cost less than the actual food that's supposed to go in it. So I've actually considered transitioning away. I was doing like a meal service. I'm not going to name it on here. So they basically deliver the meal to your door, right? Um, I've done carnivore diets. I've done you know, just like a standard, American diet, which is, consistent of unfortunately fast food, eating out, and then maybe a couple of home cooked meals.
And
So move,
let me say something about the fast food over there. It's huge portions. I mean, I've seen huge hamburgers. You would never find this kind of food in Europe. Huge hamburgers, huge portions of fries, and huge bottles of soda and so on. So the portions are very big.
yeah, I mean, and it's just so ridiculous. And when I look around, I see the increasing, like unhealthy, like patterns being repeated, like in childhood, and then that carries over into adulthood. Um, and that's not good. And I'm not necessarily here to shame anybody for like their eating habits. Well, we're just talking about food and diet and how it's changed over time. Like I said, I've done carnivore, I've done a meal service. Once I realized they were adding like a whole bunch of other stuff into it, we've canceled the meal service. We started actually kind of transitioning to like your style, right? Um, we're moving away from Me and my fiance are moving away from shopping at like the big stores. So
Mhm.
we're getting most of our stuff from local farms, most of our
Yeah.
meat, chicken, lamb, beef, pork, we're getting from local farms. Our vegetables we're picking up at local farms, the eggs, and so we're actually meal prepping using locally, sourced stuff, which is a lot healthier. I mean, but also it supports these smaller farms that, you're moving away from the bigger corporations and trying to reduce um, processed foods and additives and all this other stuff. So interestingly enough, when we've had dinner for like the last week or meals that we're prepping, we'll have a salad, fresh vegetables like hand cut, lettuce, locally sourced vegetables. We've got, some sort of cheese there. We've got local bread, um, local meat. Um, that I'm cooking. I'm trying to reduce the amount of added stuff. So I'm using like natural garlic, real natural salt. I'm using, all these other things to try to transition away from the processed foods that are in America.
It's very hard to understand for me how someone can use these two words in the same I mean close by them, like natural garlic. I mean, is it any other kind of garlic or
So like
uh
when I look at like a processed garlic, I'm looking at not like hand crushed or diced, right? So something that's in a bottle. So
so
like
you're
the
not
garlic
buying
powders.
the garlic, you're not buying the garlic, the
No, so
I don't
you can buy like powders of foods, right? So onion powder, garlic powder, right? It's basically like garlic or onion that's like ground down into very fine powder, but they add like anti-caking agents to it, like
so
preservatives to keep it longer.
you don't find it in the stores, the garlic and
Uh,
the
oh yeah, we can find the garlic, but it's easier and cheaper a lot of times. And that's another thing that we'll talk about is like cost effectiveness of
Mm,
eating healthy is that in America, you buying all of these processed foods to save money. So you can get the healthy stuff like the organic, the non, GMO, non-modified, ingredients. You can get them, but they cost a lot more, right? So it's because when you look at like supply and demand, right? So you've got a product, right? And if you want to make that product go last a lot longer, how do you do it? You add a whole bunch of other stuff to it that costs less. Now your initial product goes a lot longer. So I think a lot of companies are doing that. I don't think. I know a lot of companies are doing that to make profits. Um, but unfortunately, if you look at the state of America and obesity, I mean, it's almost become normal to be that. And I'm not talking about people that have like thyroid disease or, like something of that matter. But all of the processed foods are going into the kids, right? The kids are then becoming overweight in childhood, and then they're carrying that on into adulthood. And that's just something like you can look back through like the pictures in history of what people look like in the 20s,
mm.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s,
You
and you
wouldn't
roll
see
it up
so
till
many.
now.
You wouldn't see obesity back then that
Right.
much.
And so, I mean, and if you did, they'd probably be like, maybe rich people, I guess, was the bigger thing. But either way, I mean, being obese, as long as you're fine with yourself, that's okay with me. Like I said, I don't have any say in what you do with your body. However, for me, I'm trying to transition to a more natural human diet. So, like I said, I'm also trying to support local, like, because that's why I shop at some of the local markets. We're going to be doing the farm stands. We're going to be doing the farmers markets that they pop up. So we definitely like to look at changing behaviors around people's diets, right? So it's what's available to them, but then how can we change it? The best diet, I don't think there's like a best fad diet. There is something to be said about like a Mediterranean diet. There have been studies that show that that is like very good for longevity and health. However, that's not always available. So my suggestion is lean meats, vegetables, fruit. Try to figure out a way to reduce the processed foods, the fast foods, whatever you're getting at fast food places, try to get that, try to make that at home, right? So I look for simple solutions to help people change. Now, the biggest hurdle that I'll have with clients is not necessarily coming up with a plan, whether it's working out, whether it's the diet, it's the behavior change process, right?
How long would you say that it might last for a change behavior?
Like how long does it take or how long does change of behavior typically last? So if I
How
can,
long how long does it take to change your behavior?
okay, so typically you'll see a positive change if somebody can maintain something for this is just personal experience, uh at minimum 3 months, but you'll definitely see a gear towards more permanent change at the 6 to 9 month mark. And then moving forward, right? Because we've taken something, we've gone through the shock, we've changed the diet, we've worked on those things, the better healthy habits. And then once they're settled into the new routine, right? It takes some time getting used to the changes. But once they've gotten used to the changes, right? They need to move through their own resistance. And that's why you see like the 3 month minimum, right? Because somebody can revert back within those 3 months. Uh Typically I don't see success on the first try. If they can make it to 6 months of maintaining that behavior change around their diet, that's when I start seeing significant uptick in improvement because re- they're not resisting it anymore. They're actually moving with the change itself, and they're seeking more. Right?
So it's
Usually,
becoming
by
a lifestyle.
yeah, it's become like part of their life. Their behavior has started to like change. They can still have, setbacks at the 6 month mark. Usually by the time they get to a 9 month mark, that's where they're pretty locked in to complete overhaul.
Is it the same with the diet and exercise? It's the same time amount of time?
So I mean, and this is just like something that I kind of see. I'm not saying that there's any scientific, reasoning behind it on that behavior change. For the diet, it's more of like time and consistency. With the exercise, it's motivation.
Mm,
So they have to start exercising and then they have to maintain that. With the diet, they need to change the diet and maintain that. Motivation to start exercising is a little bit different than because they on day one, you can go to the grocery store, buy a whole new slew of things that you're gonna eat different, right? Day one, going to the gym, you have to get up, get ready, go into the gym, know what you're gonna do, not be. I mean, and then people have reservations of going to the gym or working out that they're going to do something wrong, that it's going to use too much energy. So there's a lot of factors that come into working. So with the exercise, if somebody can make it like I have a 5 week program. Somebody can make it through the 5 week program and then carry on themselves. That's typically where I'll start to see, like the motivational change once they get past the 5 week program. Um, if they lose, like let's say if they only do like session by session, then I get a lot more cancellations, right? But also because they've invested the payment already. In my model, they pay up front. So if you pay per session, right, you can cancel. "Oh, I'm not motivated," right? You pay ahead of time for 5 weeks, you're going, you don't want to lose out on that money.
yeah.
So you go those 5 weeks, right? Um, they kind of go hand in hand. 5 weeks, I'll see a change if they can consistently make 5 weeks. Well, with me, personal training, while also maintaining their own workout. And I guess that's the catch.
Mm-hmm.
The diet, I'm not sitting there in the kitchen with them.
Sure.
So, and that's another thing. It's like being held accountable. They need to work towards holding themselves accountable to not snacking, to not, sneaking that midnight, snack, to not getting that soda on from the vending machine as you walk past it into work. Whatever it is, every little thing counts, but also every little step they take is a step in the right direction if they're, if they're following the path to get to their goal. In the United States, we've talked about the food pyramid and the My Plate. Do they have those government programs over there?
No, not really. No, not that I know of actually. And in Denmark, they educate them in school. but I didn't agree that much. They educate them on eating vegetables, but I didn't agree with the rest of the food. They're eating a lot of sandwiches, but not with eggs like you made at home, but with salami and these kind of things. So I don't find them very healthy.
Mhm.
So
So,
it's not a program per se.
mhm. It's okay. So it's not like a big deal that they need to, just kind of do that. But you did say the European Union kind of like has guidelines. We in the previously we talked about how like
Yeah.
the ingredients list for you is a lot smaller than it is for me. So there is that guideline that I guess they do have somewhere working in the background.
Yeah, we'll already have a lot of products banned from Europe.
And also in America, like fast food is prevalent. Like people eating fast food on a daily basis, whether they're going to a coffee shop and they're getting breakfast at the coffee shop, whether they're stopping for lunch, midday at work. They're not eating, even if they're eating out, they're not eating like a chef cooked meal. They're eating like a fast food, like processed, a lot of that. And it's easy to get to almost on every block.
Yeah.
Not like, you can get to a fast food restaurant or, a gas station with processed foods, candy. I mean, there's like soda and it's convenient, it's available. And, previously it was relatively inexpensive. Now the cost is going up, like even at McDonald's, cost is going up with the inflation, but the processed foods that are in there like are continuing to cause health problems, right? There was a movement where it was the body positivity movement. I mean, I don't, sure, be positive about your body. I don't care. Um, and that's where I kind of like, I'm like, okay, you want to eat whatever you want to eat, fine, do it, right? I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I have what my perception of health is, right? Um, I'm not going to tell somebody else that they're unhealthy um, because they're eating what they want to eat. Uh, it's not my place, right? Um,
But it is healthy, Micah. It is unhealthy, and that's the truth.
eh,
It is unhealthy, yeah. And what scares me is that me and my daughter, we are usually going to McDonald's once a month, but only for her because I don't like McDonald's. So I'm seeing a lot of high school kids always full of these teenagers eating McDonald's, and it's pretty scary for me. It is unhealthy, very unhealthy.
mhm. I mean, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, younger kids, grade school kids, like, I mean, parents for convenience, they have the play area, they're bright colors. I mean, like everything is designed to attract customers, and
Yeah,
that's fine if you have a business, but the 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 balance is what's destroying people, what's hurting people, right? I'm more and more convinced. I'm looking around and I'm looking at it's the food that we're eating. I mean, that's a major factor for what
yeah,
is health. I mean, we talked about processed foods. We got sodas, we got sugary drinks, right? There's the unhealthy fats, candy, all of those candy bars and those energy drinks, all of those have chemicals after chemicals, sodas, chemicals after chemicals, maybe just a little bit of water, right? And it tastes great. It does. And that's what's scary is that it tastes good, it's
yeah.
convenient, and another, like I said earlier, there are a wide variety of foods available in America. You can get beef, you can get pork, you can get fish, you can get, pretty much anything you want to eat here. Um, Fresh vegetables, right? But it's not cost effective. Americans can't afford that on a regular basis.
In Europe, in most of the countries, the government reduced how is it called? VAT. It's the tax on food, on
Mhm.
everything. The tax on everything. How is it called?
Like it's just tax. Like we have like a sales tax.
Oh, okay. So the governments here reduced the taxes on main foods like flour, oil, vegetables, and so on.
Mhm.
So you can buy them cheaper.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah, it's like an encouragement, and of course the care for everyone to have something good to eat, healthy to eat, and encouragement for everyone to buy healthy food, healthier food.
Right. And I think that's great. And I mean, I see efforts like that in the government and in the United States, right? I personally have, like I was on a really restricted diet for several years, where I was eating what I needed to eat, and I felt, great. I felt maybe a little bit less because I was, working out and doing
Mhm.
trying to go for a competition. But the point was is that like there's a behavior pattern of overeating, and we're overeating processed foods, and
Mm.
that is what leads to like this unhealthy. Like I said, the food pyramid initially had carbs loaded on the bottom, right, as like the biggest food group you should be eating. Well, we know now that carbs and all of that helps people maintain weight, holds on.
I was watching a TikToker from Russia. She lives in the United States now. She's married over there, but she was saying that in Russia they don't have to check the ingredients because everything we eat in Europe or in the United States, it's not allowed in Russia. So they don't have this preservatives. They don't have this genetically modified elements. They don't have it.
See, and that to me is where like the American diet should be. I mean, um, now there is a shift. So I've seen a shift in people looking for healthy diets. It's like they've almost done this unhealthy thing for so long, right? They're seeing the transition. Like, I mean, they're seeing this in the kids. The kids are, unhealthy before they're even, high school age, before they're even fully developed. They're already at an unhealthy weight. And it's propagated by, again, it's not, and I don't really want to shame like parents on this. It's the
I
cost
would,
of
I would.
food and inflation and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, sure, they're introducing these things, but if you can't afford to feed your family, real food, you have to feed your family something. In Europe, let's say they're doing more plant-based proteins, which is good. You're not eating as much meat. You can reduce the amount of meat. In some cases, that can help with like heart problems, whatever. Uh, Exposure to, diseases, parasites can come from meat more than they can from plants. So if you're eating plant proteins, you're getting that
I mean,
protein.
it's this is my family's choice, my
Mhm.
family, my choice maybe. But if you're asking my father, he's eating meat every single day. So we have a lot of let's say our parents' generation, they are eating a
Mhm.
lot of meat, like daily, on a daily basis. So it depends on who you're asking, but the meat is also bought. You're either, for example, my father grew pigs, so he had his own meat all of his life.
Mhm.
Uh, if he's buying from a local producer, so he knows how the meat is made, how the pig is fed, and so on.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking for too when I'm shopping at these local places. I'm looking for how they're treating the animals, like what's going into them, what are they eating, and then how does that transition? And so far, what I've discovered is that the stuff that I'm eating that we're getting from the two local farms, the meat and the eggs, is significantly higher quality than the stuff that we would be getting at like one of the bigger grocery stores. At I think some of the stuff is even cheaper than the stuff we're getting in the grocery store. Some of it's more expensive, some of it's cheaper. And that's kind of like the trade-off is to eat healthy, you have to fork out a little bit more cash. Um, the transition away from, the processed foods, I'm seeing it happen in some people, right? I can generally, ask somebody, be like, hey, like, what do you normally eat? Like if they're working with me, because I do, in case anybody knows, personal training. I have a nutritionist certificate and I also do health coaching. So all of those factors play into like when I'm working with clients and their diet and their health. First, I need to figure out what they want, and then I figure out where they want to be, and then I help them get there. Now, there's a transition, right? So lean meats, right? Vegetables, fruits, right? So if you get all of your sugars from your fruits and your natural stuff, I mean, even just like cacao, like instead of processed chocolate, significantly
Yeah.
better. And there's more health benefits to it. I have a friend of mine who has a cacao business. I will name drop Cacao del Sol on this podcast just for her. And she does shipping inside the United States. I don't know if she's internationally shipping yet, but she has some great cacao that she sources from local farmers that she works with. Now, um, getting to those lean proteins, those healthy fats, those good foods, right? You got to get away from the processed stuff, reduce your sugars, salts, and your, candies and energy drinks. And, if you go to the coffee shop in the morning, you get your drink and the food item. That food item is probably processed, right? It's not probably naturally made. As much as they like to advertise that stuff is
Mm,
natural and say like, oh, it's healthy, right? It's just less bad, right? Than because like if you made that at home, one, you'd probably have if you spent the same amount of money to buy something at a store, at a shop that was pre-made like a sandwich, and that rather than make it at home, you'd be cost effective more to make it at home actually. So we did this test.
yeah, that's true. And I was wondering when you said that it's cheaper to buy from the fast food. In here, for example, if you're a family of four, it's much cheaper to do homemade pizza rather than
Mhm,
going and buying it. And a friend asked me, why don't you buy the dough and just put it and put the ingredients on? And if you read the ingredients on the, I mean, what I'm doing at home, I know it's flour, salt, some something to make the dough grow. I don't know how it's called in English, but it's a natural thing from beer, made from beer.
mhm.
And that's all you're using. So I know exactly what I'm eating. I know exactly what I'm feeding my daughter. And this is why I said I would amend those parents who are not being careful with what their kids are eating. I'm a mom who's working 3 jobs, and I'm still making homemade food every single day for my daughter, every single day.
Mhm.
No exceptions. Only one time when we're going to McDonald's, or sometimes when we are out and she's hungry and we're just grabbing something. So, of course, it's a lot of effort and time, but it's important for the kids to eat healthy.
I'm gonna throw something here. This is kind of like a little conspiracy, right? But I've been thinking about this for a long time as I've been working to transition to these local farmers, these local meat producers, right? Now, I bought a whole bunch of seeds and I've got some seeds set up. I'm going to start setting up some gardens and some rain collection and stuff like that. And it may not be legal in some places to do rain collection. I don't know why, but sometimes the government likes to control how much water you collect or something. Anyway, now I've looked at it and we're told from, when you're young that your destiny is to go to work and pay your taxes and do your stuff, right? And then you go to the store to buy your food, right? Now, here's a little mind boggler. If you were to produce your own food for yourself, um, they call it like homesteading or, gardening, but, and then you get, maybe you have your own chickens, you got your couple of pigs, you got a couple of cows, right? Now, let's say you were doing that. How much time would that take away from going to work, right? So you're not going to work. And in America, we have income tax, and then they tax you when you buy stuff, and they tax you, like 126 times, after you've made your money, right?
Yeah,
So if
in
you
Europe,
go to work, it's similar there.
sure.
Yeah, it's similar everywhere. But let's say you go and you get paid, you go to the store, you buy food, you pay more taxes, right? Now,
Yeah,
if you were to work, let's say half the day. And then the other half of the day, you were making your food, tending your garden, tending your chickens, checking your eggs, prepping your beef, doing the hard labor to do that. If the other half of your day was that, then the government loses out on two types of taxes. One, they
Sure.
lose out on, some of the income tax that you pay after do that, and then they miss out on the tax that you're paying on the food,
Mm.
right? And so, and they
Yeah.
that's kind of like my thought. I mean, that's kind of just like a mind boggler, but I'm trying to reduce my footprint um in terms of how much I'm spending versus what I'm gaining with my food. So I'm looking at those healthy meats. I'm looking at vegetables, even locally sourced bread. We actually just got a bread maker, so we're going to be starting to look at
Mm.
making our own bread in terms of,
Yeah.
and also the garden, right? We'll be looking at chickens here soon. So I mean, I'm trying to reduce how much I go to the store
Yeah,
and
that's great.
increase the healthy food that we're eating.
My grandmother, she lived almost 100 years. She was 99 years old when she died, and she died from COVID. She was not sick. She just died from COVID. All of her life, she worked hard. She was a very good worker. At the same time, she had her own garden, her own chickens, and she was helping my father with the pigs as well. So she's been eating. Do you know that? I don't know if you have it over there. It's the grease from the pork, the main
Mhm,
grease from the pork,
mhm.
which is called bacon, but without the meat, just the grease. It's what she ate every single morning. It has a lot of good fats, only good fats. What's that called? Omega,
Omega 3, like
omega
omega 3 fatty
3, 6,
acids. Yeah.
omega 3, 6, 9. Yeah, so that's what she had for every morning. Now, in the cities in Europe, you are not allowed to have animals anymore. You are not allowed to have chickens anymore. You are not allowed to have pigs anymore. Before, everyone had a little chicken, a little pig, here and there a duck or something. Now you're not allowed to do it. Only if you're in the countryside, you can grow animals. So
Mhm.
you're lucky from this point of view. There are people that are still having some chickens and trying to have good eggs, but pigs, no.
I mean, it's very hard. I mean, even in population cities, population centers, the need for apartments and housing without land to put these animals on, you have to go to the store, right? Like people that I live close to Seattle, people that live close to Seattle, they can't go in their backyard and, get some chickens going and,
Yeah,
check on their garden. Maybe a small little rooftop garden, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, but there's really not space for that in the city. I live out of the city,
yeah,
in a little town on an island where I'm lucky enough to have a backyard. It's not great. It's not a farm, but it is a backyard and it's a good
yeah,
start. So, it's pretty decent size. It's a little overgrown, because the previous owner didn't take care of it and I will be taking care of that. But, uh, I plan to turn that into that garden so I can start working towards, transitioning away from that. Now, let me ask you this. In America, we've got a fast food chain restaurant on every block, like Wendy's, McDonald's, Hardee's, KFC, Dairy Queen, Taco Bell, any number of these things, right? What kind of fast food restaurants do you have over there?
McDonald's, KFC, and it's another one with King or something. I don't remember the
Oh,
name.
Burger King.
Burger King. Yeah, I've never been there or in KFC. So these ones, and then you can find small Turkish ones which are not, they don't have processed food. Like you can eat a kebab if you know what it is or something like this. We don't have Mexican yet. Very small Chinese restaurants maybe, and Greek food. We have a lot of Greek food because we are neighbors with the Greeks and we like Greek food. But as fast food, exactly like with fries and fried chicken, and so on. We only have these three ones. And in Romania, there is a guy who started his own fast food chain, which is pretty successful until now. And
Okay, so you
in
got a couple
general,
different ones.
yeah, and in Europe, it's kind of the same. I mean, in Denmark, we had a very good fast food actually in Denmark, which used the Angus beef from the United States. It's a traditional fast food from the United States, but a pretty healthier
Carl's
version.
Jr. and Hardee's, they're the same company. Okay. So you've got a
So yeah,
lot of different stuff there, but also it sounds like you've got your own like local types of fast food restaurants and chains, like little mom and pop shops that pop up all over. We have that here too. We have, people that start their own, business. I mean, we've got, where I live predominantly, it's dominated by Mexican and Asian restaurants, right? There's a couple of American restaurants. Some of them are franchise, and then there's some of them that are, local, but they're a little bit higher end. There's some great like higher end restaurants that are
we have
here,
those
not
too.
fast food.
Yeah, but of course, much more expensive than the fast food. You cannot compare
Oh,
the price. Yeah,
oh no. Yeah, I mean,
and
you're
same
spending a lot of
yeah,
dollars at these nicer restaurants, and
yeah,
but you're
yeah.
getting a quality product.
Sure, sure. In Romania, it's a little cheaper than in Denmark, but in Denmark, to go to a good restaurant, it's a fortune.
Like here, around where I'm at, we've got a couple of food co-ops where like it's like a grocery store, but it's only for like local people. So we're actually gonna go check one of those out, probably this afternoon.
Did you buy eggs from a farm
Yeah,
until?
so yeah, I've actually been stocking up on meat. So like anytime I go to this, there's a little shop that's like right up the street from me, and it's like right outside my neighborhood. They have like a small assortment of vegetables, but they're mainly like meat, and but they have all sorts of like local stuff. So every time I go there, I try to pick up at least two meat items and some fresh vegetables if we need it. I have a deep freeze out in my garage, so I cycle from the deep freeze to the house freeze, and I try to keep a stock of
Mhm.
meats that are locally born. But yes, eggs. I've got local eggs from a guy. Great. These are great eggs, right? Probably the best eggs I've ever had.
Uh,
Um,
when, when my husband bought, it took a while in Denmark until we found a farm to buy eggs from. And when he came home with it and I cooked them, I felt sick. They felt so strong, like the real deal. It was like in when you buy from the grocery store, they are diluted with water or something. I don't know.
mhm,
And when you buy it from the farm, they have the real strong taste of egg. And it took me
mhm,
a while to get used to it again.
mhm.
Very good
So
eggs.
you
Good.
remember how we talked about like going to the like coffee shop and getting a coffee in the morning?
Mm,
And then you get usually people are getting like a breakfast
yeah.
sandwich, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about processed carbs, usually a processed meat, usually a processed cheese, and then maybe bacon, a lot of unhealthy stuff in one very small, convenient package, right? So what I did and me and my fiance did is we decided that we're gonna try to make something healthier out of that. So we got a local bread, we sliced it, and then we took one of those nice, amazing eggs, and then we put that in the pan, and then we put that on there. We put just salt and pepper, like so no processed seasonings or anything. Um, and then we didn't use any bacon that time, but it was an open faced, like just kind of like so half the carbs, right? But it was locally sourced bread, which is generally healthier than the processed bread you're going to buy at the store. Even the stuff that looks like it comes, they've got the brown bag to make it seem like a nostalgic. You're buying, real bread is like factory produced um,
Yeah.
with additives. So
We have a cook here in Romania who told us about a friend of his who has how do you call the shop where they're making bread? A bread factory.
bakery, yeah.
Yeah, he has a bakery. One night, one of the things they put in the bread, in when they're making the bread, fell down on the floor, and the next day they found a hole in the cement substance they put in the bread.
Mhm.
So when I heard about it, I got really scared. I mean, it is scary. What are they doing to us, right? What are they putting in our food, and why are they allowed to do it? That's something I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how, maybe you can answer this. In Romania or Denmark, is there like a governing body that says, hey, look, you're allowed to put, like we have the FDA here. I don't trust them, no matter what, but like, and in Romania and Denmark, do you guys have like a governing body like that?
We have European Union government, and they decide. And most, I have to say that most of the food from the United States, it's banned here in Europe. We are not allowed to have it.
Mhm. I actually did see that. I saw a couple of things where like I was scrolling on social media and I saw a couple of posts about like how in different countries but in European Union, like you guys don't like the ingredients list was two different things. Like in America, it was like this big, but in the European Union, like it was the same product, but the ingredients list was like, significantly altered. Like I said, I keep like a freezer and I cycle that through. So I got a deep freeze. I'll move from that into the house freeze. And then, like I work meat that way, vegetables, I've got the seeds set aside. In a natural disaster, people will like scare buy, or I don't know what they call it. There's a name for it, but they buy a whole bunch of stuff
In-
because they're scared. Yeah, so they don't have it already set aside. So like I've got water set aside, I've got seeds set aside, I've got the meat, an extra, good amount of meat that I can keep on rotation. I know that like smoking meat, I know that you talked about smoking meat previously. I know we talked about
Salting meat.
salting meat and like submerge like putting it in lard to preserve it. I think those are all great options, and I want to make sure that I'm having those things for an emergency in the United States. Yesterday, um, previously the day before today that we were recording, there was a huge slew of storms in the Midwest of the United States, like huge tornadoes. Like one tornado was like a half-mile wide, like just destroyed houses, destroyed, towns. In an emergency situation like that, I'm not saying like a farm is going to survive it, but having emergency food set aside that you can get to without power, right, is important. And knowing how to prepare it is important. You could be cooking on an open fire, but
Mm.
you got to eat. That grocery store's not there, that coffee shop's not there anymore. You got to be prepared for that. Power outages. How are you making food? Can you make a fire? Do you have, propane on backup? I don't know if that's something they have in Europe, but we have propane here.
Yeah, we do. We do have. You know what I what I love about Romania is that everyone who has a garden, I mean, not a garden, everyone who has a little land, even if you're in the city like we are in the city. I live in the city, but we have a little land, a piece of land. Everyone is growing their food, which I find, even if it's just, for example, I have a friend who has a very small piece of land and she has mint, lavender, some tomatoes, this kind of thing, the small ones,
Mhm.
some beans that are growing on the thing. So everyone is doing this, is gardening a little bit, except the ones that are living in apartments. Even they have in their balconies something there. So unfortunately, many of the ones that are, let's say, buying new houses, they're just planting grass and that's all. And
Mhm.
I think it's a little sad not to profit from the earth, the Mother Earth, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that and my yard's overgrown with trees and brush, and just because the previous owner didn't clean it up. But I plan to put a garden back there, so that's why I said I got the seeds, and the chickens, and we're gonna start, kind of like looking at that. I'm also gonna start looking at the stuff that I'm buying, that's processed, still, which is very little things I'm buying processed still. The stuff that I'm buying processed, how can I make those at home So I mean, there's a lot of different things that I've looked at doing to try to like introduce healthier local stuff because it supports the local economy. Um, but also it's to me it's just it makes me feel good to eat healthy food, right?
Mm,
Eat junk food after eating healthy food for a while. Um, I actually tested this last week. So we've me and my fiance have transitioned to like like we have like the meat, the veggies, the fruit, the cheese, the bread. It's all local. It's all handmade stuff. I'm seasoning, very minimum preservatives, right? Now this last week I tested it. I was like, I'm gonna try and see what it feels like to eat Wendy's, which is a fast food restaurant here in America, right after that. So
mm,
I did. Within 2 hours, I just started to feel kind of like greasy, heavy.
mm.
The next
Yeah.
day I was like slow and lethargic, and it just wasn't the same. Like, so the nutritional value to buying is significantly more from these smaller the spread that we're making. We're also eating smaller portion sizes. We talked about that for like, diet. So like, I mean, we're eating like, small 6 ounce meat, but then we're moving through we're eating a little bit of everything that we put out, and then we have leftovers. So what I've spent, I can now carry on into the future.
Just a small amendment about trying fast food after a while of eating healthy. I've bought chips today. We don't eat chips usually. So today we've bought chips because the holiday started, the Easter holiday in Romania started. So it's like a small celebration. I couldn't, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be that salty. And um if you don't have them for a long period of time, you realize how salty they are. I mean, they are extremely salty. It's like eating salt with a spoon. That's how I felt today.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how much salt we're eating. I know we've talked about like processed stuff, but let's just talk about salt for a moment. There's salt and sodium in most foods that you buy
And sugar.
at yeah, and sugar, um salt added added to it. It's not natural, it's just added to it for taste, right?
Yeah.
Those things like salt, you need it, you have to have salt to live. But I think, again, to go back to portion size, like, we're eating too much. We're eating as a species, and I'm not saying to stop eating. I'm saying that to be healthy, smaller portion sizes. But also, one thing I did want to point out, the salt, it's because it's in everything. You may be like 4 times your daily amount of salt just
Yeah.
by eating a bag of chips. And that doesn't even include what you're supposed to be eating. You might be over your percent value of carbs or sugars just by
Yeah.
eating one thing, or going to a coffee shop and getting one sugary drink or an energy drink could be your amount for the day, based off of like whatever the calculation is for your healthy diet.
Yeah. I have been shocked in Denmark when I moved over there. They have sugar in the pickles as well. So yeah, they have sugar in everything. The bread is sweet. The pickles are sweet. The marinated fish is sweet instead of being how do you call it, with
Fishy.
vinegar.
Oh man.
The taste from vinegar, what it's sour.
Well, I think vinegar is its own taste category.
Mm.
So, yeah, I don't think it's sour. It's like vinegary. I don't know. It's got its own thing.
But it's sweet. So everything has sugar in it in Denmark. Everything, every single thing. I was looking for. This is why we bought the bread machine as well, because I
Mhm.
couldn't find a good bread to eat.
Yeah, we have one. It's we're still working on figuring out how to use it. It was gifted to us, so we're gonna start looking at making our own breads.
Oh,
But
it's
we
gonna
do
have a
buy
great
those
smell.
local.
The smell you're gonna have in the house when the bread is making is gonna be
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. But like I said, I'm transitioning away from the processed foods and more towards the healthy foods. In fact, um, this weekend we're gonna go through the fridge and kind of like look at some of the stuff that we have in there, figure out what we need, figure out what we don't need, and we're going to throw away all of the bad stuff, the unhealthy things,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So that's kind of the plan. On top of going to that local food co-op, which is a grocery store for locals, I'd like to emphasize that like a healthy diet, it consists of a variety of foods, and we talked about them: the lean meats, the vegetables, the fruits, dairy, right? Whole grains, everything in moderation. You can have all of those at one meal and still be healthy by getting the right foods. In America, typically you'll find the healthy foods around the outside of the store, the
Mm,
outside of their grocery store. So, and then in the aisles, that's when you start seeing all the boxes and the processed and all that stuff. In Romania, how is it? Like, how's your grocery store set up?
they make these stores so that they can somehow attract you.
Mhm.
Because when I'm thinking about, it's a very small German grocery store where we are going more often. So when you go inside, it starts with the sweets for the kids,
Mm, hmm.
and then with the bakery, but also with sweets,
Sweets,
usual
yeah.
kinds of sweets. And they continue with the food already cooked, but it's not healthy. It's with preservatives, so, but you can just grab it and eat it in the car or whatever in the park or somewhere at
Hmm.
work. And after these ones, it starts some processed meat, all kinds of processed meats,
Hmm.
and then processed something else, cheese. And at the end of the shop, you can find the natural ones. And
Hmm.
now I think it's the first time when I'm thinking about it, how they thought about putting so you can put you can you get through the I would love to eat this one. I would love to have something. Mom, can I have a chocolate? Mom, look at this sweets and so on. And until you get to the natural ones, you have to get through everything else.
Hmm. So I said in America, we have like the healthy stuff's on the outside. So you'll usually see, and I'm just going to average all the grocery stores I've been into right now. And so usually you'll see like a vegetable and fruit section right there
Mm,
um, to one of the sides when you come in, right? To the left or right side. And
okay.
then you'll have um, the freezer section on the opposite side. So, right, meat is all the way usually in the back of most grocery stores. So you have to walk
Yeah,
through all the aisles or walk
yeah.
around to get to
Sit
the
there.
meat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then everything in between is like, like your process. Some places have like their own little bakery, with the cakes and the breads and stuff like that in the back. Some places don't have that. They just have like shelving for that. Some places will even put the vegetables and meat all the way in the back. So you have to walk through all of that to get to those things. But even the stuff you buy at the big grocery stores, unless you're like looking at where it's coming from and what farm and what process, even some of those things can have some processing to it. So it's kind of like you got to be
Yeah.
careful. Like you said, you got to walk past the fake stuff to get to the real stuff. That's
Mm,
definitely something that we see here. Aisles after aisles of box foods, like, and some of that stuff, like I used to have a noodle maker. I don't have a noodle maker anymore. Um, so I buy my noodles now, but there's an attachment for a device that I do have that is supposed to help with making noodles. So that is an investment that we're looking at uh, trying to do on top of the bread. Because, like I said, we're trying to bring stuff. I'm trying to get out of the grocery store and
Mm.
into like the local markets and into those, and then making the stuff at home. So that's kind of like what I'm looking for, and I think that's healthy. I also understand that most people, a lot of people, can't afford to eat healthy all the time, and it's sad. I go to the grocery store, I look at the stuff, and it's cheaper to buy the processed thing than it is to buy the healthy thing, and that's just it's not. I understand why it's that way. I don't like it. Um,
I don't understand. Maybe you can. I mean, the prices in Europe are maybe more than 2 times higher than before the war in Ukraine.
mhm,
So we don't understand the prices. We don't understand the prices, the energy bills, which are huge. We don't understand the water bills and the grocery bills, which are, I mean, the food is really expensive,
mhm,
really expensive. Some food you used to buy, for example, tomatoes with $1, let's say in dollars, and now it's $4. I mean, it's 4 times more,
mhm.
and I
So I
don't
mean,
the prices.
yeah, so like inflation across the globe is a thing. So you got supply and demand. You've also got how much it costs to transport said items, which is why if you buy local, you don't have to you're not paying for that transport
Yeah.
cost, right? Um, in the manpower, you got to pay people to like, do that. And as inflation goes up, you have to pay people more money to get the things. Now, in terms of buying like a natural item versus over a processed item, um, a company, let's take an example here. And it's not a real example that you would see, but I'm going to use it as an example. A company can give you this much olive oil in a jar and say it's, $10 for this much
Mm,
olive oil. I don't know if that's not real, but let's just say this is $10 of olive oil, right? Now they can take a quarter of that amount, put it in water with preservatives, call it olive oil,
mm,
and then put it in a bigger bottle and then charge the same amount or
yeah.
more, right?
Mm,
So they've diluted the product, put other stuff in it
yeah.
that's less cost than the actual product to expand it. Like you'll see that in chicken nuggets where they've got like, breading in there, or like hamburgers where they've got like breadcrumbs or, other things in there to make it go longer. That's another thing that you're getting when you think you're getting 100% beef, probably not at fast food restaurants. And it's hard to look at that, but companies are trying to make a profit. Um, there's a big drive for convenience, and there's people wanting that convenience because they don't have time to do the healthy thing.
In Europe, the people are not getting more money
Mhm,
for their jobs. It's the same amount of money, but the prices are 3 times higher. So that's when you go and find another job like I did, or and another job,
mhm.
and try to
Make ends
keep
meet.
your
But if you're doing that, you're
your
unable to
income.
even. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's fine. So you're trying to do more things to keep your way of living. At the same time, at least I am putting much more effort because I don't have the same amount of time to cook or to do what the things I used to do before. But I'm still doing it because it's something I really care about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as people get more and more jobs, they're picking up more jobs. They have less
Mm,
and less time to make home cooked meals, to prepare the food, to make
mm,
the meals. So I mean,
yeah.
we're getting into, it's a downward spiral, or I guess you could say it's an upward spiral, and it's not great, but little steps can help.
Yeah,
Anyway,
even if it's more effort, it's worthy in the end. So we have to put some more effort. It's about our lives, so we have to make some effort for having better lives.
Yeah. Any step in the right direction towards health when it comes to diet, whether it's portion size, whether it's picking a healthy natural ingredient over a processed ingredient, whether it's avoiding, that energy drink, whether it's taking the stairs, whether it's not eating that cookie, whatever it is, it's a step in the right direction towards not just your health, but if you have kids, their health too.
Yeah,
Because what your habits are is what you're passing on to your children. And then that inevitably will keep going. And unfortunately, in the state of, where we're at, if a parent is obese and then a kid is obese, they're, already then their children will most likely be obese. There's something to be said for like stuff ingredients in food, like changing genetics or like changing the biology, the biome of the human body
yeah, the
moving
DNA.
forward. Yeah. So I mean, there is something to be said for that, and that's something to be on the lookout for. We talked in another episode about the movie Wall-E, where people just started they had all this trash on the planet, so they got on this ship and then they all just ended up floating around on these little buggies. They couldn't really walk, they couldn't do anything. They just kept ordering stuff and it was all, delivered to them. I mean, we're headed in that direction, I think, unless um, people start taking control of their diet, their food, and you know, take back their autonomy when it
Mm,
comes to their own body,
yeah,
living.
yeah. It would be great, really, to be in control of your life.
Anyway, guys, if you guys got any questions for us, don't forget to leave them in the comment section below. We will also link our websites in the description box. I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one.